You only need 5 to 10 altcoins to see some of the biggest gains during this crypto bull market. And with Bitcoin now pushing to all-time highs and many altcoins still lagging behind, there's still huge opportunity in this space. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the most undervalued altcoins across crypto, ones that I think will see some of the biggest growth and make investors some of the most money. I'm also going to talk about when I'm going to be moving from large cap altcoins into small cap altcoins and when I'm going to be considering exiting these crypto markets. Do me a favor, hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now guys, before we dive across and check out those altcoins that I think are going to see some serious pumps very shortly, let's quickly dive in and check out what's going on the Bitcoin chart and then look at why the altcoins are still so far behind, but with a really exciting future ahead. Well, as we can see, Bitcoin is pumping now at $121,860. And if you've been subscribed to the House of Crypto over the course of the last few months, you will have known this was going to happen because Bitcoin has been very closely following the global M2 money supply, basically matching the tops, matching all of the dips, matching the various dips and things along the way, and is now just continuing up. And as we can see, into September and beyond, the M2 money supply will continue to rise and money will eventually find its way into crypto and then into Bitcoin. Right now, most of that money is finding its way into USDT. Literally billions of dollars every single week is flooding into crypto. This eventually finds its way into Bitcoin and then it's finding its way down into the altcoins. It's happening right now with many large caps like XRP, SUI, and a bunch of others starting to pump up. This is that flow down the risk curve into the alts. It's what we've been waiting for. But we're still really, really early, which means that we've still got a good opportunity for altcoins. Let me explain. If you jump across to Crypto Bubbles and you click on this drop down and you go for Binance, you can see that a lot of the different coins on Binance today all of a sudden are up. Some of them up 40%, some of them up 20%, 15%. And you might be like, yeah, this because it's a really good coin and whatever else. That might be so. But ultimately, what's moving these coins right now is Binance, along with a bunch of market makers who are just pumping money back into the markets. Why are they doing this? Well, because greed is returning. We've got Bitcoin now at all-time highs, XRP pumping up, SUI pumping up, Pengu and others. People are starting to get more and more confident. They then go down the risk curve towards the altcoins. And this is really where the excitement lies. Because right now, retail investors, apart from you and me, aren't really here. Let me show you. Let me prove this to you. Look at Google Trends, and this is the search term Bitcoin over time. And you can see right now that Bitcoin is all the way down here. It's pretty much at lows it was before the last bull market. And this is very exciting, okay, because it tells us that the majority of retail investors aren't here yet. And I know people are like, oh, well, we can't have a bull market without retail. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, okay? We see the markets pump because all the market makers and everyone pump the market and the smart money keeps aping in, all the VCs ape in to pump the price, and then retail comes in and starts to buy up the tops, okay? Retail starts to push it higher and higher and higher, but we want to be getting in before them. And the fact that Bitcoin is down here right now means that we're still pretty early, okay? This is a very good signal for us to be entering into markets rather than being sidelined. So we know, right? Altcoins have started to pump. We're going to see Bitcoin dominance continue to fall as it breaks through this area of support. And once it starts to form larger candles like this, and once we go into a major run like we did in the last bull market that looks something like this, things are going to go crazy, but we need to be positioned and ready for it. So what altcoins should we be holding? Well, here's the thing. Right now, many of you are holding altcoins. Maybe you're all in on altcoins. If you are, fantastic, okay? Just use this video to kind of guide you and take some information on what might be a good investment or a move across from one coin to another. I'm not suggesting that you sell the coins that you're holding to go and buy these coins. If, however, you kind of entered in late to these markets or you kind of exited in the fear and worry back in April, don't worry. That's kind of normal. That's how markets work. If you're new to crypto, it's a scary place to be, I understand. But if you got involved in crypto back in December, where you bought into the tops, and now you're sitting down around 80 or 90%, then just promise me one thing, that you don't open up this chart today and go to the weekly chart and look for the top 100 and buy the top green bubbles, okay? If you're going in today and you're buying M, Pengu, XLM, MOG, Algorand, you're getting it wrong, okay? Because you're kind of doing what you probably did back in December, which is to go and buy into hype and excitement. A lot of these coins are seeing hype and excitement right now, but a lot of them are sitting quiet, but they will see the hype and excitement later on. We want to buy in before that hype and excitement, okay? Because that's the best time to be getting in. That's why we were getting in back in April, where everyone was screaming it was a bear market and I was an idiot and I didn't know what was going on. Okay, So I said you needed 5 to 10 coins. Why? Well, if you have too many coins, like 20 or 30 coins, it's really difficult to manage. Also, unless you've got like millions and millions of dollars, it's also pretty difficult to get any sort of meaningful returns if you spread yourself too thin. So I think it's best to base your kind of portfolio around the major narratives. What are the major narratives? Well, for me, it's a layer one. Layer ones are things like Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Aptos, etc. And I will tell you in a moment, one, maybe two, that I think are probably the best opportunities in the world of layer ones. Okay. Others would be like AI coins. Okay. Why? AI is the most booming global market there is. It's worth around $356 billion globally right now, and it's anticipated to reach $1.81 trillion by 2030. That's a 35% continual annual growth rate in this industry. The other thing behind AI is DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. This kind of ranges into a variety of different areas, but DePIN that supports AI, bit of a no-brainer. AI is growing at a massive rate. It needs various elements to support itself. Next up, real-world assets. And as I said, I will jump in and we will look at a project or two for each of these going forward. Real-world assets. BlackRock last year said that they wanted to tokenize traditional finance assets. The global assets market, they wanted to put it on chain. This kind of gives you an indicator that real-world assets might be a reasonable area to invest in, particularly as BlackRock's investing in it. BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager with $9 trillion of assets under management. That's like 4 times Bitcoin's valuation that they are managing for clients. Okay, they're pretty smart in what they're doing. Next up for me is gaming. Gaming, bit of a no-brainer. It always tends to end up booming when market gets like degenerate and when like retail is in massive force. And then on top of that, you could go kind of meme coins. You could also go DeFi. Doesn't really matter, but just make sure you're not like stacked completely in memes or completely in real world assets. Okay, have a bit of a spread across different narratives, and you won't go too far wrong. Now, first up, layer ones, no brainer, right? Layer ones are what crypto is built on. Crypto's decentralized applications are all built on layer ones. Therefore, if you're investing in layer ones, look for layer ones that people are building on top of, i.e. have lots of developers, lots of new projects are cropping up there all the time, lots of kind of money and revenue being spent over there, lots of other things as well. Because while you might be like, oh, well, Ethereum's a dead chain and whatever else, it's still got around $17 billion of total value locked on it. It's still worth $300 billion market cap there or thereabouts. It's clearly a valuable ecosystem. And it demonstrates to you what a valuable ecosystem looks like. If you look at the last bull market, Solana suddenly brings in a load of new projects on chain. It also brings in huge amounts of developers and all these other bits and pieces, which is why it went up so much in value. But here's the problem. This bull market really started after the FTX crash. Many of you don't like to hear that because many of you didn't enter in and around then. That's fine, okay? But around then, Bitcoin was $16,800. Solana was $8. Ethereum went down to like $1,200 or something like that. Now, I personally bought into Solana around $8.9. I documented it on this video, which no one watched because the House of Crypto wasn't particularly popular around that time. Now, getting into Solana at that point and then getting out of Solana around $140 was a pretty good trade. But now, because lots of people were still in that trade from around $8 and probably put in a hell of a lot more money than I did, they've got to exit at some point. And they will start to exit because they're already on like many multiples. And that means that you shouldn't necessarily be wanting to get into coins that where people are on many multiples who want to start selling. So despite the fact that you might think Solana is the bee's knees, it doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't have that much potential towards the upside because it's already moved a long way. The same you could probably say for Sui. Now, I personally got into Sui after cashing out all that Solana at $140 back last September, buying Sui around $1.20. Probably one of my best trades of this bull market. But what it means for you, if you are starting to look about getting into the market, is I'm up quite a lot on my Sui trade because obviously I bought into these dips as well. And now I'm going to be looking at taking exits at some point in the future because if Sui continues to rally like this, while you're thinking about getting into it, I'm thinking about getting out of it. Now, Sui sits there right now with a $13 billion market cap. Sui's been absolutely booming. As I said, the ecosystem under Sui, phenomenal. Yes, the tech kind of helps support that. The Move programming language basically being like the Rust 2.0, which is what Solana's built on. The team behind Sui came from Meta or Facebook, and it's one of the most kind of elite technical teams across crypto, and also kind of come with all the kind of marketing power and all that other good stuff as well, which is what's driving Sui to become such an exciting infrastructure and all that. I do think Sui as an ecosystem is absolutely flourishing and one that is is going to continue to grow. If you want me to as well, to do a video on Sui, let me know down below in the comments. I was thinking about doing kind of more technical videos about individual platforms, individual ecosystems, so that you can learn more about crypto and what's going on. But if you didn't get into Sui and you missed out and you're looking to kind of find a layer one that might give you a little bit better in terms of returns, multiples, then I would suggest that maybe Sei is a better choice. Here's why. Sui right now, $13.6 billion market cap. I think there's a reasonable chance that this gets to $100 billion during this bull market, which is bigger than what Solana did in the last bull market, and it's a phenomenal move considering it's already up like 4 or so X or more. By comparison, however, Sei has a market cap of $1.9 billion, which is like 6 times smaller than Sui, and the TVL is absolutely booming in the same way that Sui did. If you come down below, a lot of the projects being built there also doing really well. This is all very positive signs that Sei is catching a lot of attention. The DEX volumes as well are growing. This shows a flourishing layer one. It's also not only one of the fastest, if not the fastest proof of work layer one blockchains out there, but it also integrates with EVM or Ethereum Virtual Machine, which means that a lot of developers on Ethereum can move their dApps onto Sei. Sei can also interact with a lot of the different like MetaMasks and all these other things that have been built for Ethereum. This also is a gateway for a lot more capital to flow into this ecosystem and makes it a good opportunity. Now, I talked about this a few weeks ago, and it has been running up pretty hot since, okay? Since back in like the last month or so, it's up 106%. So yeah, pretty good times. But still, from looking back on it, from these highs, it's got a long way to go back up to where it was. Just to those highs up here, it's up 230%. And I do think there's a reasonable chance that from 1.9 billion, this can go to 20, 30, $40 billion. If it goes to $30 billion, you get a 15x, $40 billion, a 20x. I don't see Sui doing a 20x, even if it's a superior product or whatever else, okay? And that's my thoughts there. But if I was to just enter into the markets right now and you gave me the two to look at, I would probably take this choice based on the fact that I think there's a better potential here. In terms of entries, like obviously there was a better one just a couple of weeks ago when we talked about it. It's come back and retested its cup, but really it's only just breaking out of this cup pattern here. I do think that you have kind of like a final shot at entering into this as like a mid-cap coin. Now, as we jump across to AI, you can see that there's a lot of big name cryptos in here, a lot of very popular crypto coins, and for good reason. Some really good projects sit up the top of here. Tau Potenza, Near Protocol, ICP, introducing a really interesting product the other day in Caffeine AI. Render as well sits up there, another very popular coin. A lot of these projects are very, very strong, and they've caught a lot of attention over the years, and for good reason. But they do often sit with pretty big market caps, okay? Potenza up there, $4 billion. Near Protocol, 3. ICP, $3 billion. And in this bull market, I think many of these will be looking at 10x's plus, okay? I do think that we can go to 10, maybe even 12 to 15x in some of these if we have the bull market that we're kind of expecting with all the money liquidity flooding into it. So which of these do we think gives some good opportunities for entry? I mean, the best place to probably look, once you've done your research into these individual ones, is to go and look at the charts. Now, you'll notice in this video, I'm focusing more towards the kind of the mid-cap coins, okay? Because a lot of the bigger coins, the XRPs and whatever of this world, are already pumping. So we need to get now into the mid-caps and anticipate the next moves. Over the course of this week, probably tomorrow, I'm gonna make a video on small-cap coins that I'm going to transition to once I start to take profits from Sui, etc. Because those small caps will start to run eventually, and you want to position yourself nice and early into those. So if you want to know exactly which small caps I'm getting into, some of them have $3 million market caps and have potential to do 30 or 40x in my opinion, maybe even more, then make sure you subscribe, notification bell turned on. And in fact, give me a follow over on Twitter, Peter_THOC, because I'll be hinting at some of those small cap altcoins on here over the next 24 hours or so before they go live on the YouTube channel. So make sure you're following me over here before it goes live and 70 or 80,000 people see these small cap coins and everyone starts to ape into them. You need to be early, okay? You need to get in and see that video early. I'll let you know on here when I'm gonna release the video so that you can watch it straight away and get ahead of the crowd. Now then, if we look at Render, around $2 billion market cap, pretty impressive chart. It sits down here in this area of accumulation. Now, here's something I wanna remind you. A lot of these coins, they are kind of decent tech. They're working on decent partnerships and whatever. Revenue-wise, pretty poor. Okay, Render has a very big valuation compared to its revenue because it would take something like 450 years for its revenue to actually come through and do anything. But still, put that all aside, the position of where it's at on the chart, the fact it's got big backers and probably a lot of money in its treasury, does mean that it can still pump very aggressively from here. The fact that it's finding this base still puts it at a good value, even at the $2 billion market cap. I think from 2 billion, can this go to 20 billion? Potentially. And I think Aether is far better valued than Render right now. And let me explain why. First of all, chart's amazing. You might not think this, but actually, the fact that we rallied so strongly from this previous point, and now we're starting to do the same as soon as markets are warming up again, this is great because this was a 2x for Aether, and Aether's never really had its chance to run. Now, Aether is a decentralized compute platform, kind of similar to Render, but Render focused towards cloud gaming and rendering projects, etc., which doesn't have such a demand, isn't such a high revenue part of the market. Aether, on the other hand, focuses towards AI compute. This is an incredibly important part of AI development because huge amounts of compute power is in demand for AI projects to be able to build. And it's just so expensive that they use traditional services through Amazon, through Google. And that's what's allowed Aether to reach $130 million in annual revenue. Now, just keeping this in our mind, the $130 million, if we go to Render for a moment, in terms of setting price predictions, go to market cap and let's go to all. You can see that Render previously has reached $5.2 billion of market cap. When we're looking at the market cap of circulating supply, forget about the FDV. If the FDV doesn't unlock before December of this year, I couldn't care less because we want to be out in the market probably by December of this year. In my opinion, it doesn't matter if it all unlocks after that because the bag holders are going to be left to deal with that. I'm not going to be a bag holder because I've been watching the markets and I'm sure I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on. So actually, the benefits of high FDV, low market cap coins is a massively reduced supply and demand model. Okay, it's much more favorable for us as investors. So Aether, with a $319 million market cap, yes, it's unlocking and inflating a little bit, but probably by Christmas, the inflation isn't going to be beyond another 10, 20%. To go to Render's all-time high is about 12x from here. Aether makes tons more money than Render, okay? About 13 times more money in terms of revenue, which means, in my opinion, that it has a huge amount more potential because ultimately, I think Render can go to $20 billion. If Aether goes towards $20 billion, that's now looking down the barrel of a 15x or more, and I think that there's a reasonable opportunity for calling that to happen. As I said, in terms of entry, pretty reasonable down in these parts. Now, a lot of people over the last few months or so have been stung by saying things like, well, do you reckon we're going to get another pullback? I was going to buy in, but I didn't want to buy in yet. Shall I get in now? Guys, if you're just a retail investor, guys, if you're just buying on spot, here's what I do. Aether right now is low down. Does it come back down here? I have no idea. Okay, I don't think it does, but I know right now that this is much lower than it is up here. It's much lower than it is up here. So I'm happy enough to buy low to try and sell high. Stop trying to buy the absolute bottoms. Stop trying to sell the absolute tops. Because if you need to ask whether you can do that, you probably don't know how to do that. Okay, so just do the smart thing, which is buy the fear and buy when prices are low and then sell when prices are high when everyone's screaming for higher. Okay, so Render looks decent, but I would say Aether is a better value in my opinion. Real world assets, I would say as well, worth having exposure to real world assets as I've already kind of like tapped into there. If we look at Ondo Finance, is a larger market cap coin. Okay, I'm not saying just buy all large market cap coins, have a bit of a balance, some large, some smaller ones, because if we do get some chop, you can kind of sustain yourself and not see brutal ups and downs. As you can see from the chart, Ondo looks pretty strong here, dropping down into this area and seeing this kind of nice rounded bowl pattern, which to me looks pretty good for an entry. I think Ondo goes higher from here. Is it going to see an enormous bull market? At the moment, it's valued at $2.9 billion. So for it to do a 10x and take it to $30 billion, probably reasonable given the space in the market it's in. Maybe, just maybe, it can push towards a 15, 20x if everything goes absolutely crazy. Because I do think that Ondo is one that catches a lot of attention when the markets start to heat up. And you're already starting to see very early stages of that happening now. Now, jumping across to gaming, I will be talking about smaller cap gaming projects tomorrow. But right now, there's a larger cap gaming platform, which I think catches excitement every time retail comes back in. It's Beam, okay? It's a layer one ecosystem built for gaming. Tons of different games are being built on top of Beam right now. It's a popular project with retail. Technology-wise, it's pretty impressive. They have links with the Middle East to be able to support gaming Olympics and other things like that. Looking into the charts, it looks phenomenal for an entry, right? I know people don't like getting into charts down here. Typically, they like to get in after these kind of pumps, and that leaves them in a world of pain. Probably Beam has a lot of people who are still in this who don't feel great about it. But I personally have been in from around this area. I've been starting to DCA in every time it's been going lower into here. And now I'm just waiting for this recovery where I'm sat pretty much break even. Time should be pretty good. I think Beam is a good piece of exposure to gaming, but there are smaller cap games I think will also be worth looking into. Now, one last one that I'm not really sure where to put. I guess it probably fits into deep in. I guess it probably fits under AI and maybe something else. But Worldcoin, in my opinion, is one that definitely wants to be looked at. Worldcoin pumped up all the way to around $12. Currently it's sat at $1. This is co-founded by Sam Altman, who is the co-founder of ChatGPT, or OpenAI behind ChatGPT. This is one of the most well-funded projects in all of crypto. It has around 13 million users worldwide who've already scanned their retinas to be able to have a digital identity. Now, this isn't used as a social point system in the future, okay? What it's being used for is a proof of identity. Very soon, you're going to see AI taking over, AI being used to scam people, to be able to impersonate you, all sorts of other things. You're already seeing it happen across YouTube, with Joe Rogan getting copied on every video going right now. Into the future, Worldcoin, I think, does well. Why? It's already onboarding millions of people. Its founder is the founder of ChatGPT. He's going to be founding a new social media platform to compete against Twitter. This could likely integrate ChatGPT and Worldcoin. If it suddenly blows up as a world-leading product, there's a good chance that Worldcoin booms back up to at least all-time highs and beyond. And since it's currently sat around $1.8 billion, I think this is a pretty reasonable bet on Sam Altman, who's pretty much as influential as Elon Musk. Now, again, this does rely on kind of lots of people around the world contributing to this, but they've started to open these various flagship stores across like San Francisco, Paris, London, Hong Kong, etc. And they've been onboarding millions and millions of people. It's a very interesting concept, slightly different, slightly out there, but I think this is a solidly underrated product. In terms of where it's at on the charts, it had a pretty good day yesterday, sat down a little bit today, which is fine, but in this nice accumulation zone. You'll notice that many coins recently have just been double bottoming down here, will eventually start to pick up and start to do this. This is literally what we've seen happen to Pengu when it did this, right? Okay, double bottom, and then it absolutely sent. Now, there's obviously meme coins and things that could probably get on this list. I talked about Pengu the other day, but it's already been pumping. I personally would avoid this right now, okay, because I'm looking to take profits out of it. I'd be looking to get into meme coins and things that maybe were down here, slightly better established meme coins. Don't go and try and play anything too risky. Now, tomorrow, I'll talk about smaller cap coins, so make sure you are ready for that, because some of those coins could be at incredible entry points as that video goes live. But typically, many people like to go and buy into those coins straight away, so make sure you're watching nice and early, notification bell turned on. So make sure you sign up for all these three exchanges: WEEX, BloFin, and Bitunix. Why? Because all of these exchanges will hold all the coins that I'm talking about on every video pretty much that I make, with the exception of one or two that you can only find on DEX. Now, none of these exchanges require KYC, and they come with some of the lowest fees across crypto. Not only that, but if you sign up through the links right now, they're all coming with huge, insane bonuses, some of which you can win Rolex watches, others you can win like $10,000, $20,000 in cash prizes. Use this opportunity to try and win some money, and then you can have free money to be able to bet on the crypto markets, especially at these kind of like discount prices where they're at right now. Slightly longer video than normal, guys, but I hope you found it useful. We're going to start stepping up the content and bringing you daily videos. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, and I will see you tomorrow in another video. Bye-bye.